Hi, this is Eric from FlexPVC.com, and we're going to do a video that's a little bit different from our other videos today. We're going to show you how to put the end on a bungee cord. Alright, here's a bungee cord. We sell this on the website. This is your standard 3/8 inch stranded bungee cord. This is what's called a 100% stretch, which means if you cut it at 1 foot, it will stretch to 2 feet. And here are our carabiners, right here. These are what's called the gourd carabiners. We like to use these for a multitude of reasons. Number one, they're metal. We like the metal ones. Number two, it's got the little latch on it so that whenever you hook it on, it stays hooked on. If there was ever a failure, instead of having this thing flying around on the end of the bungee cord, it's going to stay stuck to whatever it was on because it's got this little latch on it. All right, these come in various different sizes. I've done one here for you already. This is the medium one. This is the smallest one. Here's another larger one, and there's ones even larger than this. It really doesn't matter. The 3/8, this is 3/8, so we'll be using that. It works with any one of them. Okay, so I'm going to grab my carabiner. Oops, sorry, pull this off. Okay, now the first thing you got to do is you got to determine how long of a piece of bungee cord you need to cut, and it's really easy. All you do is you go measure the thing that you're going to be bungeeing together, and you take a tape measure and you go around the outside and you say, okay, I'm going to need this many feet. Let's say, for example, you're going to bundle a whole bunch of pipes to a rack. Okay, so now you know why we use these things. So we bundle these up to a rack and we go out there and measure it, and it's going to be about 5 feet if you go all the way around. That's a pretty big size bundle. So what you want to do is you have to determine, do you want a light grip, medium grip, or a really strong grip? And there's a factor for each one of those. So let's say you measure around the outside and you get up to 5 feet. If you want a light grip, then you use a 0.8 multiplier. So you take your 5 feet, you multiply it times 0.8, you get 4 feet. So therefore what that means is you would cut a bungee cord 4 foot long. If you want a really strong grip, then you use a 0.6 multiplier. So you take 5 feet, multiply it by 0.6, you get 3 feet, so you cut it at 3 feet, which is what this one was cut at, well, started out as. And if you want a medium duty, that's 0.7, so that would be about 7 times 5 is 3.5 feet. Alright, so the first thing you do is you cut your cord, and in this one I already cut it at 3 foot. And actually what I did was I cut it at 3 foot 2 inches. And the reason I did that is because we're going to use 1 inch on either end for the attaching the carabiner. All right, here's one that's already been done. This is what it looks like when it's done. And I'm going to show you how we do it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I'm not a bungee cord expert. I'm just showing you what works for us. Do this at your own risk, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you take your carabiner. Oh, first thing you do is you cut your shrink tube. And you cut about 2 inches or so. Wow, these scissors are dull. Okay, so you cut your shrink tube and you put it on your bungee cord like this. Okay, stretch that down. Now, when I cut this, I already melted the ends, but I'm going to show you it's actually pretty easy to do. When you cut your, I'll just cut this one here for you so you can see it. So you cut it off, and you're going to get a little frayed end here, which is not good. So what you do is you take any heat source. I could use a heat gun, although it takes a long time. I could use a Bic lighter, or I can use this. I'm going to use this because it's very fast. I keep the heat quite a ways away from the cord. I just get enough to melt it, and you'll see it starts to just get a little smoke there. That's the outside. It's melting really well. I'm trying to get the strands of the rubber to melt together a little bit. A little smoke. Okay, right there. You'll see it glosses over a little bit. That's how you know that it's all melted. Okay, got it. Don't go too far because it makes it worse. So now you have to be really careful about this because it's very, very hot and very sticky. So if your finger touches this, the hot material is going to stick to your hand, and it's going to be very unpleasant. So anyway, so that's how you melt the ends. You got to make sure you do that, otherwise it's going to fray. I'm just going to put this off the side where it cools. Okay, so I already did that for this one here. And I put my shrink tube on it, which in this case I'm using 3/4 shrink tube, but the shrink tube that you use depends on the size of the carabiner that you're using. 3/4 seems to work for a lot of different ones, so that's why I'm using it. So you then put your bungee cord through the hole or the end and wrap it around about, or bend it around about 1 inch. That's why I said I cut this at 3 foot 2 inches, because I got 1 inch down here, 1 inch down here. So hold it in place. Take your tie wraps or zip ties, whatever you want to call them, which we sell these on the website too. I'm using 50-pound zip ties. That's really all that's needed, but if you want to use 120-pound zip ties, we got those as well. Alright, so we're going to tighten it up. Not crazy, just get it tight. Okay, you can kind of tell, you can look at the deformation. That's about as tight as I get it. and then you use your side cutters, snip it off. If you really want to get fancy, you can take a file and knock that little bit of sharp edge down. I always put a second one on. If it's a critical situation, I'll put a third one on, but generally 2 is more than enough. Okay, tighten it down. Same. Snip it off. Actually, I got that one a little bit tight. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And then you bring your shrink tube up, goes over everything, fits nicely. Alright, goes up about here like that. So that's what it's going to look like. And now I'm going to shrink it down with the heat gun. Again, I could use the torch or Bic light or anything like that, but I like using the heat gun. It gives it a more uniform. When you use these, it shrinks down really fast. I don't know if that's really bad. I just like to use the heat gun. Doesn't take much longer anyways. Notice how I rotate it. I don't like putting heat all in one place. I've done that in the past, and now not with this stuff because this is real good shrink tube, but the cheap shrink tube, if you put too much heat in one spot, it'll split it. So it's just a habit I've gotten into, rotating it. Okay, that's pretty tight. Alright. Put the heat gun on the cool setting with just a blower and no electricity to the element. Let it cool down on its own. If you do that, your elements will last a lot longer. So here's what it looks like when it's done. Show all different sides. Here's the first one I did. And that's how we attach carabiners to a bungee cord. It makes it a really tight and strong fit. We've never had one fail. But like I said, do this at your own risk because I'm not an expert, just a YouTube video guy. Okay, this is Eric at FlexPVC.com. Thank you for watching.